Alright boys, we are back. It's Friday now, and unfortunately we gotta tear this thing down. So we were putting everything back together, we got it running and driving and this and that. Unfortunately, it made more sense to part it out than it did, because he was gonna try to resell it. We were looking at resale value and whatnot, and it just really wasn't worth it in his opinion. And also at the same time, he's got other projects that he wants to bring in. So this truck is getting parted out. We're gonna try, show you guys. So today I have to pull the transmission. I have somebody 75% locked on the motor. I didn't want to pull the motor until I had someone coming for it, because I want to show that it runs and everything. And we also just did a whole bunch of new parts. So we got, new injectors and new inlet tubes. So everything is brand new. This engine runs flawlessly. New fuel filter, new oil change, like all the whole 9 yards. Everything's been done maintenance-wise to it, and it's good to go. Another probably 200,000 before needing its next set of maintenance, besides the the fuel filter and oil change. But injectors, you should get about 200,000 out of them, 150, 200,000. Got someone coming for the new fenders. These were purchased for it. These are OEM. It does say Mopar on them, so they are good OEM, not Chinese fenders. We got to pull the axle, lift kit, like everything's got to get pulled off of this thing. We have all of the interior pieces and this and that. Everything over here. And the only downside of the interior is this piece here. I said the carpet looked bad, but I think the carpet's actually not that bad. So we're gonna try and see. I had somebody on that, but I think they shied away. So the only thing we're keeping from the truck, I believe, the transmission is going, that's been traded for another truck, and then the tuner. So everything else on the truck is fair game. We got the rockers down here. I mean, they're not perfect, but they're not rotted through yet. So the cab, let's check this side before I start talking shit. But oh yeah, so this side's bad. So the cab, little bit of rot right down there. Other than that, we're gonna start getting to work pulling this thing apart. That's the task I was at hand. Keep in mind, guys, we don't film really everything that goes on. So some of the stuff that comes in and out throughout the day, we don't there are a lot of that stuff. We're trying to keep the main focus on this stuff. We did end up bringing back the mobile for you guys that are interested in it, because it was super popular. But please understand, mobile is expensive. It is $120 an hour, GPS calculated out and back. We will do roadside and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff we schedule after hours, so if anybody needs that service, we have everything up on the Facebook page if anybody wants to go check it out. All right, we were gonna have this out, work calls. I gotta get moving. So we got other stuff to do today, but I got the trans lines off, the front drive shaft off, the rear drive shaft off. We got all the bell bolts out and all of the bolts that go around the converter. We got all those, all the connectors, all the wiring is off. Everything's ready to come down. The cross member's ready. So everything is pretty much, we're half hour away from being able to just drop the transmission. All right, next day. It's nice enough outside now that we could take the heat off. I was running the heat a little bit this morning. This little bastard's expensive. It's if I wanted to heat this thing all day, it's 25 bucks to 50 bucks a day. So we got the trans dumped, drained into a bucket, and then everything is off, ready to go. The only thing was, this transmission has been an absolute fight, and generally on the front drive shafts, I'll undo the I'll undo the back bolts, and then I'll put it in four-wheel drive and let the truck separate the transfer case from the drive shaft. In this case, I could not do that because, you can see everything's up on blocks. So I got everything disconnected, lines, everything, and she's ready to come out other than this one bolt right here. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I've already separated the mount here from the transmission. So I'm gonna get the jack underneath of it, get this out, and then we're gonna drop this trans separate. Hopefully everything goes as well as I'm planning it to. This thing has been an absolute fight for me, but it is what it is, this thing's fought me a lot more than most of them. Generally on a transmission swap, we're about that 12-hour mark. Some of them go smoothly, some of them don't. This one was one of those because like some of the bolts were rusted and just whole bunch of bullshit. So next scene you will see is me dropping this. All right, trans is out. This is the first time ever that I've pulled it with the transfer case attached. But I'll show you guys. Here's the cross member. Look how crusty this guy is. I got 2 of the bolts out, but that one decided it wanted to strip. And it's supposed to be 15 mil bolts. I tried a 14, it's not working. Mind you, I've done tons of these, and they just don't work. Apparently this is a built unit. I cannot confirm nor deny, but this is getting traded, I guess, for a whole nother truck. And then I believe that truck's getting parted out as well. So we'll have 3rd gen parts for days if anybody needs anything. We have a lift coming. We have a compressor coming. Let's get your guys' opinions on this, right? So we can drive in here. What we were thinking is, okay, drive in here, and we were thinking of putting it this way. So if we could back in a trailer, the trailer, we could back it in straight, and then we could have at an angle, basically come in and go here. So thinking about putting the lift right about here, then we keep the 3 spots there. We have 1 spot in this way, 1 spot here, the fabrication area. All right, boys, we are back Monday. We got some work here in the shop. I want to show you guys this project we have going on. Unfortunately, with everything else that's coming in, we got the lift on order, we got the air compressor on order, we're just waiting on those. It should be here end of week, if not next week. Lighting is gonna have to be next, because like this lighting is terrible. It has warmed up a little bit. It's like 42 degrees outside, which isn't bad. I'm still gonna run a little bit of the heater here, nothing crazy. All shit lighting aside, this is what project we have to be working on. So this is a 6.7 with a G56. It's got a towing cam in it. It's got a transmission cooler, all electronic and shit for the manual transmission. AFE intake and a bunch of other things. It's been studded, it's deleted, all that, you know, weight reduced and all that shit. We've been instructed on a couple of things. One, we got to get this seat out of here. You can see pull that out of there. We got an air seat, a little bit of an airbag. I don't know. There we go. See that? So we have all the floor out and everything. You can see there's the airline and shit. We have all the shifter and interior pieces. So this whole thing is getting taken out and we're putting new seats in it. Taking the back. The back is staying the same. I'm not a big fan of the leather, but see, he's got some lights down in there. So we got to take all that out. It is crank windows. So this is also a 2-wheel drive truck, and being that it's a cab and chassis, you guys will see that it's got a solid front axle. We have the transmission right here. We have a G56 that looks like it fell on its side. Clutch, flywheel, all that stuff. We were instructed to throw all this stuff back in, and then we have the gear vendor's overdrive up here. This is what was on it, so we were instructed to take that off. Let me get up in here. We have drive shaft, we have the cross member, a bunch of other stuff in here. So I was told that the transfer case from the 48RE should fit this. You guys will see it's taking the coolers off and whatnot, so those should bolt right back up. Alright, we're chilling under the truck right now, going through everything. Again, quality sucks, but we've got all the bell bolts and the bolts out of here. I can see a rear main leak, so we are going to do the rear main. This is the cooler for the G56 chilling here. So we got TDS cooler right there, and that we are going to have to redo gaskets because I never took them off, they just disintegrated. So inlet, outlet, all that stuff. I got to get that pulled off. This does have a 5-inch exhaust with not one but 2 mufflers, so those welds are pretty. But yeah, so I'm gonna get that taken out here in a little bit. I wanna disconnect the batteries, make sure they are 100% disconnected before we start tearing into anything because of the starter. And after that, I mean, basically just get it up in. I'm just looking to see if we can't find the clutch itself. So we have, this is what we've gone through on inventory. I got this guy on one side. I don't see the other part. That's all we really need, and then we have everything, because this is a decent clutch. So this was pulled because this ended up snapping. This is the gear vendor's overdrive, and apparently something snapped out of it. I'm gonna go through this trans and make sure everything's good, because initially he thought it was the trans or the clutch, but it is indeed this little fella right here. So gotta go through that. I also need to make sure, so we're taking this T-case here. We're gonna see if that fits on the back. I don't know if it does 100%. I really hope it does. If not, we're gonna have to go buy a T-case, because if not, this here and this here, oh, that's what I forgot. I left the drive shafts in there, but we do have a full drive shaft. We have an output shaft for the transfer case itself, but looks like that's, I mean, that might work, but something in here is fucked up. So whenever you overdrive it, I guess he snapped it in first gear, but it looks like it spins fine. So I'm gonna go through this trans and shift it through the gears and make sure that nothing in there is snapped. See, this is the problem with having a transmission that and a little milky too, that I didn't tear this apart and I didn't do the diagnostic on it. So that's where it gets a little tricky. All right, we're gonna spin it through every gear. First is where he said it was broken at. Let's see if she spins. Now it's spinning. Well, it spins through every gear, so first through sixth. So everything seems fine there. I'm gonna go grab the transfer case and try to do a test fit. I don't know 100% if they work or not, but you know, we're gonna find out. Does a 48 RE transfer case fit on the back of a G56? And this gasket's still good, so we're not gonna mess with that. All right, bad news, transfer case does not fit. The output shaft is too big to fit in there, and we're also missing that. So that's our two holdups. I'm gonna get a rear main seal on order, pop that bad boy off, show you guys kind of what we're dealing with, because the goal is to get this thing running and moving as quick as possible so we can at least roll it around, and then we're gonna bring it in here to where we're installing the lift. So there will be a lift 2-post right here, pick it up, and then we can drop these axles. That guy has been leaking for a while, so we're gonna get all that pulled, get all this cleaned up. We are not going to pull the whole housing, because then you start messing with the oil pan seal. So the oil pan should be all right. It's all of this guy right here. So we're gonna get a brand new seal on order, make sure we reseal this guy up here. All right, you guys want to get that seal out? Took a couple of shots with the self-tapper, because some of them don't want to tuck in, but put a self-tapper in there and just pull. See that? Now she'll come out pretty good. Just make sure you don't mar the surface on either the crank or the aluminum housing. All right, G56 is all back together. We got both coolers, both sides, new gaskets in. Now we're just waiting on the rear main, throw all that back together, and I'm gonna give him a call quick about this guy here. All right, rear main is in. We got all the bolts back in, and we redid the seal back here. So everything all good. We got everything cleaned up on the other side. So, clean some of this crap out. You guys will see. We'll have to get some of that out, but besides that, we can start throwing most of the clutch back in. I'm pretty sure he has the other piece somewhere, so we just got to find that. And then we can start throwing the trans back up in. All right, started doing some checking to see if the four-wheel drive swap was even gonna be possible. And I also wanted to check and make sure that the rear end wasn't, you know, blown, making sure that's not what he snapped. But this axle is way beefier than that of the regular pickup axles, which are over there. So you can see this is a cabin chassis truck. You can see by the big open frame, it is still a 3500, but I'm not sure what the actual ratio is on this. Also, we started chipping away at some of the rust you guys will see here. It's always so satisfying taking that stuff off. You can see all the big chunks and whatnot. But we are not going to be able to four-wheel drive swap this truck with those axles. So I am going to let him know not to buy those. And the suspension is completely different as well. This thing is an absolute unit. But the previous owner was complaining that the RPMs were really, really high when driving down the road, which is why they bought the Gear Bender's Overdrive. So we need to see if this is what snapped, but you can see as I spin it, the other side spins as well. So I don't know, we got to figure out which one of these units is actually bad between the rear, this, or this. It was diag before I got it. There you go, Gear Bender, Overdrive. Still waiting on a call back on this clutch. I know he has the piece somewhere, it's just not here. So we're gonna get that bolted up, cleaned up, throw the first piece, second piece, and clutch looks all right. There is plenty of meat on that, as you guys can see. So it's not a clutch issue. All right, we got the engine side one on, and we got the PP side. So everything's all lined up, everything's good. We're just waiting to hear back from the other part, and then we can start putting the transmission itself back in. And we got these cool little AN lines. The other one I have sitting over here. So we have the inlet, outlet, fan, all that stuff. So nice little cooler. We will decide what we're gonna do later. Turn that off. On the four-wheel drive, because there's a big difference between cabin chassis axles apparently and regular axles. So it looks like a four-wheel drive truck, but it is in fact a two-wheel drive truck. So gotta figure out, clutch seemed all right. There was nothing wrong with that. It literally has so much more life left on them, and those clutches are known to go 200,000+ miles. As much as I'm not a fan of the South Bend clutches, because of the fact that they're really hard to shift on the NV5600s, they still do get a lot of miles out of them. So I remember I sold my clutch for like $700 back when I went to an O'Reilly's clutch, and it was like, it had 200,000 miles on it. And I still got $700 for it. And start digging through this thing, getting this thing cleaned up, getting ready to install it. Everything has checked out. Bearings are good, all that. We'll grease everything up, get it all cleaned up. Just keep in mind, I understand some guys are gonna say, oh, you should put a new clutch in it, oh, you should do this, do that. We're not trying to upsell here. Literally get this thing back together. That clutch still has at least 150,000 miles on it. So just keep that in mind. We will figure out whether we're gonna do the four-wheel drive swap, if he wants to do a transfer case, or if we throw the Gear Bender's Overdrive back on it, or if we just find the correct yoke and send it that way. But I mean, for now, this thing seems like it's all right, but I don't know. I might give them a call and see. Apparently he pissed them off, so I don't know, but she spins all right. Maybe if I put a load on it, I don't know. Also, guys, I don't usually do any of the sales on YouTube anymore, so like saying, hey, we have a truck to be parted out. I don't usually do that, but I do want to get a lot of this stuff out of here and gone as soon as possible, especially with the lift coming. And with this thing, I want to get this thing done and out of here as well. We have a bunch of other projects and stuff coming in. So not trying to sell anything on or push anything on you guys, but get it while you can. There's parts available. And yes, I forgot to order gloves, so my hands look like shit right now. Get over it. Basic things are axles, lift kit, and engine. Once that stuff's out of here, I can put this thing on a trailer and kind of get it out. But I'm going to start pulling pretty much all of that stuff off of there so that anybody that wants this stuff, come get it. I'm gonna call the video here. Next video, I will let you guys know what the deal is with the Gear Vendors Overdrive and the G56. But let me know if any of you guys interested in this project. I don't know. They did say something about selling it when it was done or using it. I'm not sure 100%. But we're gonna get this thing going 100%. It's got a towing cam in it, head studs, whole 9 yards, deleted, tuned. I know it had a couple of different tunes. The guy's got a lot of money in this thing. Derail system, upgraded clutch hydraulics and all that. S&B intake, got the Napa green belt down there. So she's all set up. AFE filter, I meant. AFE intake. Everything's all set up. I was instructed to take this seat out. It is getting a new seat. It doesn't like the air seat. So this is all coming out. I'm going to blow that up because that way we're able to get all that. And the center console, we're putting the factory center console back in it. This is what's in it now. So, and then a new shift knob because it's got like some ninja friggin' sword thing on there. So we got to take that off as well. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'd let you know the miles on this thing, but I don't know. The only downside to the truck is rockers. That's about it. So other than that, this thing is super clean. Besides the rockers, the frame's good and whatnot. So that's the only drawback to the cabin chassis trucks is the RPMs, especially with a G56. All you guys saying you love the G56 and whatnot, how about that 6-gear ratio? You combine a 6-gear ratio with these cabin chassis truck rear ends, good God, the RPMs are screaming on these things. That's the nice thing about the NV5600. Not only are they stronger, they also have that 6-gear that's a little bit lower. It's a little bit higher of a ratio, so it brings the RPMs down a lot more. The downside is they're a beefier transmission. You know, they're noisier and whatnot. So call it here. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you next video.